Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to do some review of quadratics. We have a quiz tomorrow that everyone should be taking. I know some of you did a retake on quiz number 1. I closed that right now, but if you still want to do a retake, you can certainly message me and I will open it up for you individually. So the first few slides that I have here, I would just recommend that you pause the video to just review some of the important pieces of quadratic functions that we have learned so far. These first few slides literally are from a notes sheet you got in class before we were on stay home learning. So you can certainly fill that into your paper copy, or there is electronic copies of that as well. And then these are some of the other pieces that you did with Mr. Oslin, which we're coming back to because on tomorrow's quiz you're going to graph quadratic functions in both standard form and vertex form. So starting here with this problem right here, we can to pick out the y-intercept, because we know the y-intercept is always the c value. So right here, ax squared plus bx plus c, our y-intercept is -8. So you can write your y-intercept as -8, or you can write it as the ordered pair 0, -8. But that means our y-intercept is right down here. Our axis of symmetry, that is the equation of the line that passes through the vertex. And our formula for axis of symmetry is x equals -b over 2a. So I take my a value right here of 1 and my b value of -2. These are the two values I need. So my axis of symmetry is going to be x equals the opposite, so -b. And since b is already negative, that's going to change to a positive. So the opposite of -2 over 2 times 1, which gives us an axis of symmetry of x equals 2 over 2, or our axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So I'm going to put that in here, right here, just like that. There's my axis of symmetry. Now my vertex is the ordered pair, and it's somewhere on that axis of symmetry. So I already know the x value right here. I get that from the axis of symmetry, so my x value is 1. So I'm looking for the y value when my x value right here is 1. So all I do to find that is I plug in my x value of 1 into my equation. So I'm really finding f of 1, or I put my 1 in for x, and I solve. So I have 1 squared, which is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2, so I have 1 minus 2 minus 8, and that gives me -9. So that means my y value right here is -9, and my vertex is down here at 1, -9. Okay, I just noticed right here that I actually plotted my vertex right there as -9 instead of -8, so I'll go back and fix that. That happens. So here is my y-intercept, and here is my vertex. We also know that once we determine our vertex and our axis of symmetry, we can actually flip over another point on our graph right here, because this is symmetrical. So now I have 3 out of 5 points that I need. I know that this parabola is opening up because my a value is a positive number. So that means it's going to be opening up, and I'm going to have a minimum value here. So I have a minimum value, and that minimum value is it never goes lower than -9. So my minimum value is just -9. It's always the y value of the vertex. The x-intercepts, that gets a little tricky. We got to go back and review factoring. Okay, so in this case, I need to factor x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, this is an easy one where a is 1, so we can look for the two numbers that multiply to -8 and that add to -2. So if I start thinking about different combinations for -8, I know that 2, oh boy. I know that 4 times 2 is 8. So if I have 4 and 2, that's going to give me positive 8. So one of them is going to have to be negative. So negative 4 times 2 is going to give me negative 8. And negative 4 plus 2 is going to give me negative 2. So I found the numbers. Those are the numbers that go in the parentheses with my x's. But that doesn't give me the values. I actually have to solve this by setting it equal to 0. So what that means is I'm trying to find out when is x minus 4 equal to 0 and when is x plus 2 equal to 0, because the zero product property says if two things multiplied together equals 0, one of them has to be 0. So when I solve this equation, or both equations right here, by adding 4, or in this case, subtracting 2, what that gives me is x equals 4 and x equals negative 2. So my x-intercepts are 4 and negative 2. You could list them as orders pairs as well. So now I'm going to put a point at 4 and at negative 2. So now I have my parabola. I can sketch my parabola right here. And I have my 5 points. And that's what I need to graph. Okay, my domain is the x values, and that's going to be all real numbers. Okay, it always is, because you look at your values of x and they go in both directions, positive and negative to infinity. My range, however, is my y values. And remember, my y values never went lower than this point. They never go lower than negative 9. So again, that y value is important with that minimum. So my y values are going to be greater than or equal to negative 9. So that's the first type of question you're going to graph. Now we're going to move into vertex form. Again, these first slides are just reviewing. I would recommend you pause the video, read through the information for review. That talks about just the shifting and the width of the parabola, and then it talks about graphing in vertex form, which is what we are going to be working on. And then this gives you a little bit more information about domain and range, and axis symmetry in vertex form. So here we go. So in vertex form, okay, here is my quadratic that I'm going to graph. So one of the things that's helpful is to just state the transformations. Remember, the number inside shifts it left or right, the opposite of what you think. So this is going to go right 3, and this number moves it up or down, and exactly like you think, it's going to go up 4. Don't forget to look at this in front, okay? If that is negative, it's going to be flipped over. Also, if there's a number other than 1, it's going to make it wider or narrower. This one is not going to be wider or narrower, but it is going to be flipped. So now if I just think about my vertex with that shifting, my regular vertex is at 0, 0. So if I'm going right 3 and up 4, that gives me my vertex as 3, 4, and I can put that in my table. But then again, remember, in standard form, this is the x value of our vertex right here. So this comes from the x minus h squared plus k. And our vertex is our hk. Remember, it's the opposite. So since this says negative 3, it's positive 3. So now, moving on, the next thing we need to do for graphing is we need to pick some values larger and smaller than x. So one number smaller would be 2, and then another one smaller would be 1. The other direction, going larger, would be putting in 4 and 5. Okay? So now I'm just going to plug each of those numbers into my equation. So in this case, I would have the opposite of my x value, which is 2 minus 3 squared plus 4. Well, 2 minus 3 is negative 1, but negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. But now I take the opposite, so I'm going to get negative 1 plus 4, which is going to give me 3. So I have the ordered pair 2, 3. So I go 2 and I go 3. Okay, I can flip that over the axis of symmetry, and that's actually going to be this value right here. So again, if we plug this in to the equation, we again get negative 1. Oops, I did not put in the x value correctly here. I should have put in a 4. Just recopy the equation. So we got our x value of 4 right here, goes right here. So 4 minus 3 is 1, 1 squared is 1, but then we have negative 1 plus 4 again, and we get 3. So you're going to notice that pattern that they just keep the values, some of the y values will be the same. Now I'll go ahead and do the values for the when x equals 1. So now I'm going to put in the opposite of my x value, which is 1 minus 3, square that, plus 4. This is going to be negative 2, but negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, so I get negative 4 plus 4, which is equal to 0. So that means when x is 1, y equals 0. Again, this point will be the same, and you can plug it in to find out, but that will be the same. So now I can graph my quadratic from vertex form. I have my 5 points, just like that. Well, I didn't quite hit that one very well, but that's okay. All right, so there's graphing in both forms. Now let's pick out the axis symmetry. Again, remember, you could memorize things, but the axis symmetry is going to go through the vertex at that x value. So it's always an equation of a line. It's x equals, and since it's going through at 3, or this point right, the axis symmetry is going through my vertex at 3 right here. So my x value of my vertex is the same as the axis symmetry. Again, domain is all the x's, and the x's go infinitely in both directions, so the domain is going to be all real numbers. My range, however, never gets higher than that y value of my vertex or lower, and in this case my y values are less than or equal to 4. My maximum value is that top number right there of 4. Again, it comes from the vertex. So that's graphing in both forms. We picked out information in both areas. Again, just a couple quick reviews that when we talk about the a value, making it wider or narrower, if we look at these two problems right here, we can see this one is a lot wider than the normal, so that one is going to be the 0.5. So numbers smaller go up slower than having it be 1, and so that one would be wider. Okay, and this red one here is narrower than the parent. Okay, and it's narrower than this blue one. And again, look at this 3 right there. So when we pick out and look at transformations, we look at compared to this parent function right here, y equals x squared. And so if I list the transformations for this 3 right here is bigger than 1. The absolute value means it's going up faster, so it's going to be narrower. It's not flipped over because it's not negative. But this number inside is shifting it left or right, the opposite of what you think. So that is going to go right 1 unit, and this 7 is making it go down 7. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that you're going to be asked to do on the quiz tomorrow, and these are the kinds of things that you're going to be practicing in your homework. Okay, we're not going to do all of these, but I will go back and do some more problems on your the rest of these for your notes. So here, you could say that this is vertex form or standard form, but in vertex form, we don't have anything in a parenthesis right here, so it's not shifting left or right. There's no shift of left or right right here. So now what we're looking for, there's a is 1, so it's not going left, or it's not getting wider or narrower or flipped. So all we have here is this right here, which is making it go down 9. So there's not too many differences from the parent on that one. So that one goes down 9. Let's just try one more here. Let's try number 9 here. So with number 9, this right here, the negative is making it flip. So it's flipped. But then the 2 part, we kind of ignore the sign and we think, oh, 2 is bigger than 1 because it's the absolute value. So bigger than 1 goes up faster. It's going to make it narrower. And then we have this shifting it left or right, the opposite of what you think. So this is going to go left 10, and this is making it go down 4. All right? If we do one last question here, this piece right here now not flipping it over because it's not a negative number. Okay, it is smaller than 1, which makes it go slower, goes up slower, which makes it wider. This number inside, again, shifts it left or right, the opposite of what you think. So this is going to go, again, left 2. And there is no shift up or down, so that's where we stop. So I'm going to stop right there. You can find the blank, of course, lesson notes from this blank lesson that I went through. I will solve all the problems again, make sure I post it. Your homework assignment is going to be in Schoology in the Quadratic Chapter 9 folder under Assignments. You can download it into Notability and then submit to Schoology. I will post an answer key, but I want you to try the problems first, so I'm not going to post the answer key immediately. I'd like you to get a start on it, but I will post it probably sometime after 4 p.m. All right, have a great day, and get ready for the quiz. I would review some of the old videos to help you prepare.